Um, so welcome back, everyone. I just kind of wanted to take this time. I know that we've kind of gotten to know each other the past few weeks. I just wanted to take this time to maybe do a little check-in. Again, safety is our biggest, one of the biggest things that we're trying to assess for. So maybe we can kind of do that first. How is everyone sort of feeling safe in the process? Maybe we'll start there. Can everyone kind of speak to that? How has this process been for you? Do you feel safe sharing? And then maybe even at home too. Do you feel, how are things going there? Maybe we can just kind of go down the line.
Yeah. I feel like it's uncomfortable sharing. Like, I feel safe sharing. It's just kind of weird. I'm not used to it. I guess at home, I haven't really talked too much with my husband about it because I'm kind of afraid that it'll cause a big thing. So I haven't really, I guess I could say that I don't really feel safe, bringing up what we bring up in here back home.
Yeah, and I think that's actually, now that kind of makes me think. As we sort of go through this 6 weeks, this initial 6 weeks, we kind of encourage everyone to wait to have these kind of conversations until we get to the joint portion. So we'll kind of go through these, a little bit of psychoeducation, a little bit of information, and then afterwards, then when we kind of get everyone together as a couple, we can really kind of focus on those things too. So I would almost kind of refrain from that kind of thing at home, just because we're trying to focus on safety. We want to make sure that you're all safe.
That makes me feel a little better.
Sure. I'm glad to sort of clarify that. So yeah, and thanks for, again, this is a space. We want to create a safe space. So thanks for the feedback. We really appreciate it.
And I want to remind you, your partner is going through the same process you're going through. So
exactly.
You're feeling uncomfortable. He's probably feeling uncomfortable too. And you pulling back probably is bringing in a little bit of actual comfortability because he probably doesn't want to share either. So, and he's being encouraged to withdraw as well. So hopefully if that's a problem for everybody, you guys can know that you guys are in the same place as your partner right now.
Thank you.
I feel same because I feel okay that to share, although my English might not really fully as native speaker, but I still feel free to share here.
Great.
But still feel really weird to share with my husband at home. We will not share what we experience in the group. Mm-hmm. So I feel although we are all in the program in this process, but we still really isolated. I think that we will not talk this issue.
Right.
Yeah. I'm curious, you use the word weird. Can you help me understand what it's like for you when you're feeling weird, or help me understand that emotion that comes up for you when you feel that way?
I feel because we will avoid that things when when I go back home after this, he will not ask what happens, and then I will also did not ask him how it happened in the group. So I feel this is one kind of weird. I feel like that.
Yeah. Okay. Is anybody else feeling that as well? Kind of.
A little, yeah. I feel I'm very used to being oh, honey, how was your day? And I feel like I can't really do that because it'd be a whole thing. Because I know that he's going through the same process, and if it's tough for me, then I'm a little scared that if I push at him, it'd be bad.
Yeah, and I think kind of speaking to that a little bit too. I think it does feel strange, sort of going through the same thing, but then almost not being able to share it, right? As a couple, that's kind of what you'd like to do. However, I think in these kind of circumstances, especially when we're talking about domestic violence, we're really just trying to ensure safety. And in doing so, we're just trying to make sure that nothing does get heated or things like that. We can touch more on that later. But as far as your progress thus far, you're exactly where you need to be. And again, we appreciate the participation and the vulnerability because it is uncomfortable. This is something that not many people sort of get the space to talk about. So again, we really appreciate that. Yeah. So thanks for sharing. Was that, did
No.
we,
Yeah.
okay,
Fine.
okay, great. And how about for you?
As far as my boyfriend and I, we have agreed through this process that we're going to actually sleep in separate rooms. So, just I want the most out of it. I hope he wants the same. So we understood that we can't talk about it. So, I mean, sharing in group is fine with me. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't really rub me in any kind of way. But just to kind of talk about some of the things that Lady said, I don't push talking to him about it. I don't feel the need to. Just because this was like my last straw for him. So I told him that if he really wants this family, because we've been together for like 6 years, we have a 5-year-old son, I said, I suggest you get it together. So he understands that. And when we, agreed to come, I set some rules for him as well. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really appreciate the commitment. When we get into relationships, we don't necessarily project or, foresee these sort of circumstances, right? But the fact that, you're kind of making modifications in the home, maybe not sleeping together, I wonder if that's even like a sense of relief, as far as kind of safety. And again, that's what we're after. Is that, do you feel maybe more safe?
I mean, I never really feared, like, in my sleep as far as, like, what he was going to do. It was just more so, like, when he got angry or if I had got angry, from that standpoint, that was all. So, I mean, as far as not sleeping together, I don't know. I feel like it could, I'm hoping that it will help. I don't know. It was just something I was like, well, they said we can't talk, so I don't want to sleep with you either, so I don't know, that kind of thing.
Well, again, we appreciate the commitment. It sounds like you all are sort of taking this seriously, which is great.
Yeah, I second that. I do appreciate that, and I'm wondering and curious. You haven't mentioned the sleeping arrangements in group yet. I don't think you have. I'm wondering, was that recent, or how did that conversation kind of happen? What was that like?
So, the first week when we talked about the rules and everything in that nature, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what they talked about on his end. So I just was like, well, just a small snippet. And I said, we agreed to the therapy. And I told you that if this doesn't work, I'm done. So that was just the rule that I placed, like, within our home. I said, in regards to family events or dealing with our son, then, of course, I'm all for it, and I'm assuming he wants this relationship. I mean, he's here. He agreed to the boundary that I set, and I was like, I mean, it's until this program is done or whatever, treatment is done, then we'll revisit until we get to the joint sessions. So.
Yeah, and something that's coming up for me that as I'm listening to you is how tough that must have been, that conversation. And not only is coming here difficult and hard every time you walk through the door, to go home and your strength to, really set a boundary for yourself and protect your safety. I appreciate that. And I acknowledge how difficult that must have been. I know if that was me, I would have been a little scared or nervous or anxious. So I appreciate that you took that step to really set a boundary for yourself.
So it sounds like we're doing okay here. This uncomfortable thing, we were sort of strangers a few weeks ago. We're coming together. We're opening up. We're sharing our ideas. And kind of, I just wanted to take a second, maybe even to kind of bounce back to last week. I know we talked a little bit about specifically the different types of domestic violence. Do you all want to sort of take a moment, or is there anything that you've maybe learned from this process, or kind of specifically things maybe you didn't know? I think kind of understanding, kind of what we're all going through and what we're talking about here is just really important to sort of move forward. I think each step or each week has a very specific focus, and I think it's helpful to understand those things as we move forward. So maybe we can kind of, again, just kind of go down the line and just kind of revisit, maybe how you understand domestic violence, maybe what you did know or didn't, or however it kind of speaks to you now.
Yeah, I mean, we went over like all the different types and stuff, and I was like home after the session, and it kind of dawned on me like we were talking about like physical abuse and like different types of physical abuse, and I guess like what is and isn't okay. Not that it's ever okay, who said, but I realized that like when I was growing up, my dad was really the sort that it's like spare the rod, spoil the child. And I kind of realized, like, wow, how much I've minimized a lot of what my husband's done, because I was really used to that being, like, the case when I was a kid, like, with my dad. And it kind of, like, put a lot of stuff in, like, perspective for me about, like, because my girlfriends would always say, like, oh, like, why are you letting him, like, do that sort of thing to you? And I just thought it was just normal. And it kind of made me realize, like, maybe why I thought it was so normal.
That we almost sort of defend, this, abuse or sort of, what's going on, or we're not sure what to call it. But we, no, that can't be happening. But in fact, sometimes it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing. How about for you?
For me, I think because when I grew up, we did not really talk about abuse. These things we have like physical punish.
Okay.
Punishment, and then so we just see that because if you did not have good grades or you did not have good behavior, you just have punish, and then it's really hurt sometimes, and also have like verbal while you take the examples like verbal abuse, like say you are really stupid because you did not have good grades or what. That's the kind of like how we grew up, how I grew up.
Right.
So I did not know that that's kind of abuse. We did not say these things as abuse, I think.
Right.
So I think last week that just let me thought about this, and then sometimes maybe I have fight with my husband. We just like say something like not really good words or yeah. So I think that really affects me a lot from my original family. Yeah.
I think what you're speaking to is so important, and I don't know if we even stressed it enough last week, which is as we grow up, sometimes these verbal or physical or emotional abuses are disguised by our culture. It's okay if you're, for me, a loud Italian screaming, crazy, wild, emotions always high, but that's a disguise, right? We're hiding behind our culture. That's still being received as hurtful. That's still painful, and it's okay that we're kind of unveiling that now as maybe growing up. Oh, this is just the way our family is, or this is how our community behaves, but in some instances, or maybe even in all, it's still being received and it can still be painful. So I acknowledge that maybe we didn't speak enough to that last week, or maybe we did, and you were able to kind of reflect on that. And thank you, because I think that was a really great point.
Thank you. How about for you?
For me, it was more about like the power and control that we talked about. So, I've acted out in physical abuse, and so has my partner. Especially like when it comes down to like parenting our son. And I don't know, like he'll ask me, can he take him somewhere? Well, I don't know, just something stupid, and I would just, no, you're not taking him, just out of anger, maybe something. Because we got into it about something small, and I just felt like, well, I'm going to do this to be petty, and not understanding how that could have possibly triggered things on him or even triggered things for me. But just understanding how it's important to kind of like really find a balance and kind of like trust him too. So,
I think one of the hardest things to do is acknowledge our own part in this, and what you're kind of doing is being really self-reflective. And I think that that's amazing. And I appreciate your vulnerability, because to go to that place can be really difficult. So that's amazing.
I appreciate you saying that. And the reason why I do, we, as a part of this model, we like to focus very heavily on equality. And maybe we can just take a few moments just to talk about that. And maybe parts of our relationship that are equal, and then maybe not so equal. So we have this sort of equality wheel. So maybe we can, again, just kind of all talk about, maybe we could kind of focus on one, and then maybe even kind of speak to, maybe we can pick one that we do, there's like a positive, quality that we have within the relationship, and then maybe another, that's maybe a not so positive. So maybe we can kind of pass out, this equality wheel and just kind of take a second to kind of speak to that.
Yeah,
Does
so
that make sense?
yeah, so what we're gonna do is give you guys
So
one,
then,
and then we're gonna
just
keep
kind of-
one.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the deal. All of these things, all of these pieces of the pie contribute to equality and nonviolence when utilized in a positive way, right?
Yeah.
We don't always do that, unfortunately, with our partners. In every relationship, sometimes we take a piece of the pie and we do great at it one day, and maybe the next day we don't do so great. So we're in this thing together now. We've had a couple weeks under our belt. We're going to ask you, if to be willing to be open about your history with your partner or with partners in the past even. As you go around and select one of these, we're going to ask if you say, I think we did really great at trust and support in this instance. Maybe give us an example of how you did great or how it was positively used. I know that sharing experiences can put you in a really vulnerable place, and I appreciate that. So please only share what you're comfortable in this moment to share, but also recognize that this is a therapeutic process, and I'm going to reiterate that we are asking you to be vulnerable for the benefit of yourself, your family, and your partnership. Okay, so as we go around, kind of select maybe a positive or a negative, whatever you'd like to do, and maybe give an example of that.
So I guess, like with negotiation and fairness, so a positive or a negative. I guess something that we did really good this week. So my husband usually goes, he goes bowling like every Wednesday, and like this Wednesday I had like a big event thing that I was hosting, and we were talking about it, and like it was really important to me, and he was like, okay, well, I'll skip bowling this week to go to your thing if you come to my bowling tournament later, because that's really important to him, and I almost never go. So is that a good example?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, again, you just kind of weighed each other's side, and you kind of did what sounds like a little bit of negotiation, and it sounds like it was pretty successful. That's fantastic. Yeah, great. Glad to hear that.
So for me, maybe I take responsible parenting. I think positive. I think we both take responsibility for parenting because I'm a housewife. So I will prepare like their lunch or breakfast or everything household. But my husband also, he will go to take after school and also their tuitions or everything. So I think this part we do really equal and support our child at this part. Yeah.
I'm hearing all of the responsibilities that you do have. Kind of managing the kids, the household, and it sounds like you're kind of divvying that up or kind of sharing, or kind of taking it out together. That's what it sounds like to me. That's great.
I think I'm into the responsible parenting as well. So as I just shared, like how I would be petty and not allow him. So like to take him somewhere. So like for example, like his mom and I, we didn't really get along a lot. So I still like hold grudges. So like this past couple weeks, he's like, oh, I want to take him over to my mom's house, and I allowed him to do so. Beforehand, I would be like, no. So I guess I don't know if that's shared responsibility or responsible parenting, but maybe both. Because I know his mom helps out in ways that I don't even give her credit for. So.
You know, I think a part of responsible parenting is healthy co-parenting. And that's healthy co-parenting with your partner, with grandparents of your child. So I think that's absolutely a great example. And sometimes it's a little hard to let go of that control or that constant watch over our children, especially when we feel like maybe our safety is a little wavy. So I appreciate that because, you know, allowing your child to experience their entire family is hard sometimes, but it's healthy co-parenting, and it is absolutely being a responsible parent. All right, so everybody shared once. I want to take this a step further, and I'm going to ask you guys to be even more vulnerable. And I'd like to go around one more time, I think. What I'm going to do is kind of put myself through it, just so you know we're in this with you. You know, we're here with you, and we appreciate and value all of your vulnerability. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this myself. So I'll do economic partnership. So I've shared that I'm married as well. And somewhere we have struggled is with economic partnership. My husband does not allow me to have access to our bank accounts. For a long time he didn't, at least. And it was a constant struggle, in my marriage, and it made me feel weak, and it made me feel devalued, and it made me feel like isolated from him. So in that sense, I don't think that we were doing so great with economic partnership.
So, I guess, like, with honesty and accountability for a while, we weren't doing really well. Like, my husband had an affair, like, just before we were married, actually. And, like, he obviously was really dishonest about that. Like, he didn't tell me. I didn't find out until, like, a month after the wedding. So I feel like that kind of, like, honesty was, like, really lacking there. And, like, I also feel like I really didn't, like, I stopped being honest about stuff with him, too. Like, after that point, like, I didn't want to, like, it was over, like, the silliest things, too. Like, I'd tell, like, the silliest white lies because I felt like I didn't want to tell him the truth. Like, it would be as simple as, like, oh, yeah, I did, like, finger painting with my kids today when actually, like, we built a kite. Because I didn't want to be honest with him because he wasn't honest with me.
Yeah, I mean, what a violation of trust, especially right before your wedding. I'm sure that was difficult to share, so we appreciate that. And again, I mean, as far as our own actions, we sort of, have to take accountability for those things. So in saying that, I really appreciate how you were saying, like, I think I statements are really kind of helpful, kind of moving forward, kind of focusing on yourself and kind of the role that you play in a relationship as well. So thanks for sharing.
For me, I think we did not really do well on economic partnership as well because I did not have any income, so I felt powerless. And then my husband did not let me to. He will give me some money to use, but not allow me to manage or touch any bank account or everything. So I feel like he did not really trust me, and then feel powerless about these things. And then so for me, I think that this connect trust as well. So my parents will support me, give me some money as well, but I will not let him know these things. So I think these things we did not disclose, and I feel not really from I did not feel really support from him from economic these things. But he will let me to buy the household things but if I want to buy like too much like clothes or new clothes or other things that he will say something negatively or I just I don't use his money.
That must be so hard to go out and buy things as a woman.
Yeah, it's really struggle me that to need to spend a lot of time that struggle. Can I buy this or can not or yeah.
Wow, so it almost sounds like you're stuck in this like tiptoeing a little bit, like back and forth, or like walking on eggshells. Like, can I buy this? Can I not buy this? What is that like for you?
I feel sometimes helpless, and then or if I really want to buy things, I need to think about some excuse or this thing is for our kids. So I don't know, but it's like it sounds like really ridiculous, but just that's my
Helpless. Thank you.
I think we can probably touch on both of these, honestly. I think it also, I don't know, I guess we could probably start with economic partnership as well, because he lost his job last year, but that stemmed from, I'm no clinician, but I'm thinking he was probably depressed, I don't know, something, because he watched his brother get murdered in front of him 2 years ago. And so since he lost, because before that, he was already going through some changes, so like he started drinking more, hanging out with friends. But when he lost his job, I would say like our violence and our words, like as far as like how we talk to each other, physically abusive, things like that. And he didn't tell me for a long time that he lost his job. He didn't tell me until like 8 months later, right? So I'm thinking, he's just really drinking all the time, or he's out with other women, so that goes into like trust for me. And then I guess just it led me to do, not respecting him and, having threatening behaviors and things like that and that sort, or not being fair, because I didn't know, so I wasn't honest, and I didn't even take accountability for my own actions and things that I was doing.
There's a lot that comes into play when we talking about equality. It's almost really treat each other as equals. There can be a lot of imbalances. Like in our son, there's so much, a lack of safety. I should your story. Maybe now is a good time to talk about safety. Kind of implement the strategies. It's kind of like an exit strategy almost to so people are safe.
Yeah. Yeah, so we kind of want to pivot here a little bit into safety planning, but I think that set us up really well for this discussion. So kind of the idea is that when we're missing a piece of this pie, our safety, is something that we should be thinking about. Just kind of being cognizant of it. Nonviolence and equality is essential, right, to living a safe and happy life. So you're all going to get a copy of this equality bill to take home, and your partners are going to get one as well. At the end of the session, we're going to have packets for everybody. Also in that packet is going to be a little bit of information, a lot more than I'm going to go over verbally with you guys, but you'll see that there's going to be a page committed to safety planning. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could read that over when you're home, and then when we check in with you next week, you can ask any questions or ask for more resources that maybe you might have been missing that would be helpful to you. But I'm going to go over some of those things right now. So just kind of thinking, kind of contextually, putting like a name on it, around safety planning. The first thing that I want to stress is that in a seriously violent situation, we should always be calling 911, right? Legal action is our protection here. So you're going to see that there is 2 resources that for legal action that you could take. One is going to be a number you could call. That's the 1-800-799-SAFE number that you're going to see on your packets. That'll be bolded in red. Also, womenslaw.org is a great resource. So these are 2 resources that you can do or utilize if you were thinking about taking legal action. What is legal action? Well, you actually can take out a protective order. I'd like to stress that protective orders may stop abuse. They cannot guarantee your safety, obviously. But you should never replace a safety plan with a protective order. Meaning that our safety plan that we're going to go over and then we're going to have highlighted in the packet when you go home is your first line of defense, the things we're going to talk about. We'll go more into that in a little bit. But this protective order comes secondary. Okay, so that's what we're going to do once our safety is definitely in jeopardy. We need to protect ourselves and put a boundary between ourselves and our partner. Okay? If you do take out a protective order, a legal action against your partner, some highlighted things that I just want to quickly go over. There's going to be a list of 10 things under protective orders that always need to know about protective orders. That's going to be in your packet, so review that when you go home. But some things that I like to highlight are, if you have a protective order, you should always keep it on you at all times. Can anybody kind of guess as to why it's important to keep a protective order on them at all times? If you get into a seriously violent situation with your partner that you have a protective order against, if you have it on you and the police are called, that person can be locked up immediately. They can put them into custody immediately. If you verbally state that you have a protective order against them, you will have to provide proof of that. So you should keep it on you at all times. In your wallet is fine. You can fold it up, and that way you have it in case of any type of emergency. You can get a protective order at the courthouse, women's shelters, volunteer legal services, and some police stations. So you can probably look up online. We also have links to local police stations that have them in the packet that you'll be taking home today. There's actually a whole list of places in the tri-state area that we have police stations especially, because not all do. But all courthouses do, and all women's shelters do. Okay? Thinking of that volunteer legal services that I referenced a little bit ago, low-income legal services and nonprofit organizations are good resources to file a charge. You have that right. You as a person have the right to file a charge or a legal action against someone who is violating your safety. Okay? I know that the word legal and lawyers and court sounds expensive, and it is, and it can be, and I understand that we might not all have the means or resources to do that. So that's why in the packet that you've taken home, we have a list of low-income legal services and nonprofit organizations in our state that will look at your case for pro bono legal work. Okay, so that is an option to always keep in mind. Do not feel that because you don't have the money or the resources that you can't take legal action. They are out there. Okay, so those are just some things that I like to highlight. But like I said, there is a ton of information about safety planning in the packets that we're taking home. I really encourage you to read it over, and we'll go over a few more next week when we check in. Okay. But right now, I'd really like to open up the discussion about safety planning. And I really want this to be kind of you guys working with one another and us just really contributing where we can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some prompts, some situations, or some emotions. And I'd really like you guys to give me, us, each other, some ideas of what to do in that situation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it all down, and I'm going to email it out to everybody, okay, so that we have our safety plan that we came up with to reference in that week moment. Here's the thing. When that adrenaline is pumping, It can be really hard to know what to do. What do you guys think I mean by that? When I say that adrenaline's pumping through you, you really don't know what to do.
Like kind of deer in the headlights sort of thing.
Exactly. So you're feeling unsafe or you're in an unsafe situation, clearly. Adrenaline is pumping through your body because you're going into either fight or flight mode, right? We talked about that last week. It might be hard to know what to do. You might say, I'm so anxious, I'm so unsafe, I don't know what to do. What do? You reference your safety plan. It's in there and writing. I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling unsafe, or I have to make a phone call to my partner who violated my safety last week. What do? I don't know. My adrenaline is pumping and I'm confused. This will be a resource for you to reference back. It'll be in writing. And we have each other. We came up with this. So you will feel safe and confident that you can take action. Okay? Is that landed well with everybody? Alright, great. So let's start off with our first prompt. I feel down and ready to return to a potentially abusive situation. I can. So you're feeling down and you are ready to return to a potentially abusive situation. So this would have been, you were in an unsafe situation, you decided to leave, but now since you're feeling depressed or lonely or isolated, you're considering, should I go back? Should I go back to that space that is unsafe but maybe familiar? What can we do in that situation?
I guess I could call my sister. She has been really urging me and my husband to go through this process, so she'd probably be able to like tell me to snap out of it. So
I really appreciate that our support systems or our networks outside of maybe our relationship are really important. So those having a close, family member or friend or something like that is just really fantastic. So phone calls are great. It's a great way to increase our safety and then let someone else know, what's going on too. And in the event that things do escalate, so that's a great way to feel safe and to kind of bring someone else in as well.
I think I will seek for help from my church sisters because church friends, two of my close church friends, they are really, I really open to them about situations that are happening in our family, so they really know what happened. So I think they will help me have this situation.
Great. So not only individuals, family members, but communities and organizations that we're a part of. That's great. Let's push it even further. What happens if nobody's picking up the phone? Or you're scared to let people know that you're depressed? What can we do? We're about to re-enter a potentially abusive situation. What are some ways that we can dig ourselves out of that place? Stay prayer.
Or I would look at a picture of my son. He serves as my motivation.
Wonderful. So, prayer, meditation, mindfulness exercises. You said another great piece there. Why are we doing this? Our motivation is a wonderful word to use. What keeps us going? It might not be a child. We don't always have children. Anything. You have a picture of your law degree next to your bed and say, I am educated, powerful female. Things that keep us motivated. It's wonderful. Alright, so our next prompt. When I have to communicate with my partner in person or by telephone, I can.
Well, I'm trying a new thing here, so I would start with maybe complimenting something that he has done, like taking out the trash, and not saying, oh, piece of shit, you know, taking out the trash. So, I would compliment him and try to show, I guess, support and things that he is, if I know he's
especially with the job, as you sort of talked about. I think supporting him, I think that's a big step. And again, we're talking about our own actions here, things that we can do. Our partners are doing their work, and this is our work, right? But you're sort of recognizing the difficulty that he's going through. But I like the action steps that we're taking to promote him as well, which is great.
And you're almost speaking to something that we are going to be talking about next week, which is communication styles, and layering our communication. Starting hamburger effect, starting with that compliment bun, and setting the tone of positivity and relaxation, getting to the point of the conversation, and then validating at the end, right? Complimenting at the end, positivity, relaxation, setting that tone initially. Hopefully, the ideal is that it will continue throughout the entire conversation. Does anybody else have any ideas of what we can do in a telephone conversation or preparing for a phone conversation, or even face-to-face communication with a partner?
I guess, for phone conversations, I have a bad tendency to, hang up on it if I get, I'll, interrupt something he's saying, by just, hanging up, just to kind of interrupt his thought, because he'll always call back and I'll always pick up, but it's kind of just to be spiteful. So I can really try not to do that and just, listen to what he's saying, I guess, with phone calls.
Be more mindful maybe of your triggers or things that might upset you, and again, kind of giving yourself that control with yourself.
Something we'll talk about here is acknowledging when we're triggered, feeling it in our body, and warning our partner. It might be the safest thing to hang up because you feel like you're about to be emotionally abused. But if we warn our partner, I'm feeling really upset by what you're saying. I really want to hang up. So please, can we just relax, or can we de-escalate? And your partners are going to know that term because, like I said, they're going through the same program you are. Can we de-escalate so I don't have to hang up on you because I'm feeling really upset?
For me, I think that comes out is because my husband usually demanding what I should do things in a phone call, and I usually just did not obey him. So I think I should try to say what I need or what I need, and then hopefully both of that he will respect me. I think,
I think what you're saying is so important. We're planning for safety. This might not always go off without a hitch. And you might get escalated, he might get escalated. Things could get heated. But if we go in with a plan, hopefully we can receive respect. Giving respect, hopefully we can receive it right back. It's a plan. Sometimes plans don't always go as we can hope, but the idea is that if you put that positive energy out, you'll get it right back. So that's such a great point. We'll do 2 more tonight. To help myself feel stronger, I can read or listen to. So I would really like some suggestions of books, magazines, songs, podcasts, whatever makes you feel empowered and strong as a human.
I guess I could read the Bible. I always found that really comforting and helped ground my faith a lot better. So I can do that.
That goes kind of what we were talking about mindfulness and prayer earlier. That's fabulous.
I feel like that's an excellent way to ground us. Depending on what kind of situation we're in, kind of maybe if you have a favorite verse or something like that, I think that can be really helpful. And that's something that's so portable, right? You take that can be always with you. So I think that's another thing to sort of note that these strategies can be effective anywhere, and that's great. So great job.
I think because I think worship music, worship songs that really helps me to release my emotions sometimes and feel support because I did not have really emotional support from my husband, so that's a really
worship music,
Touche.
wonderful. How about something that we could read? What's some literature that we could read up on that would really make us feel empowered?
Does like newspaper count? Because like I know, like sometimes my husband like tends to kind of block out like a lot of the news and stuff that's going on, like even like in our social circles. So I feel like maybe if I knew what was going on like in the world, I would feel a bit more like in control.
I've heard so many times, and for myself this is true, feeling educated makes me feel empowered, you know, and that's a personal preference. Maybe it'll make some people feel great, maybe it doesn't do anything for somebody else, you know, but for me, I resonate with that so much, you know, feeling educated, feeling like I'm up on current events makes me feel strong and empowered. So I agree. I think that's wonderful.
I'm not sure, but maybe some magazines or something that talks about feminism or something that really that can help me to see my self value or self worth.
So empowerment magazines, women are magazines around female empowerment and self-worth. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's see. When I need support or a shoulder to cry on, I can call. So we talked a little bit about this. We said your sister, community members. Who are some other people that we can call? Parents.
I mean, friends, but sometimes they're just as bad, so parents for sure.
Well, I think what you're saying is so important. Can you kind of elaborate on that about friends and why they can be too much?
Because, I mean, I have, like, some friends who are in support of what, you know, my partner and I are doing, and I have some friends who are like, girl, you just need to chalk the program, you need to just kind of go back to my old ways, or, like, let him go back to his old ways of us fighting each other. And then I have some who are like, you just need to leave it and whatever. But I mean, those are the three that I experienced. So.
Sure. I really appreciate you sort of recognizing while friends can be a support, they might not always share your opinion, and sometimes it's almost helpful to sort of agree to disagree, especially when you're finding something like this helpful. And again, assessing for safety. This is the primary focus, for this plan, just so that it's in place in, a given situation where you feel unsafe. You can turn to the plan or turn to those folks that they have your back, and then you can, get yourself safe, because that's really what's most important. So I'm glad to see that sort of distinction where, sometimes they're friends or maybe within social circles, there's someone that you can kind of have a good time with, but when it comes to your safety, you know the difference, which is fantastic.
Anybody else that somebody they can call, an organization they can call, maybe? What do you guys think?
I think I do call my close sister, church sister, but because I do not have any siblings, so for me, I just call them. I feel more comfortable because I don't want to let my parents feel concerned about me, because, and then they do not live in here, so I think that not really helpful for me to call them. That it's helpful that to call my best friends or
Yeah, so for you, it sounds like having your parents so far away and having them really concerned might bring up anxiety on both ends.
so
So
I
it's
don't.
something
They do not know what happened to us.
How about religious leaders? Does anybody have any religious leaders that they could think of, like a pastor or a preacher?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I want to reiterate that our hotline, is available. So here's the deal: in that packet that you guys are going to be taking home today, that number is on there. There's quite a few hotline numbers on there for safety planning. There's also a section, kind of like an address book, right there, right in their number, right in their name, write in their email, whatever it is, and then when you revert to your safety planning manual, when you're in an unsafe situation, it's right there, ready for you to go. Okay? So I would encourage everybody to take the time. I think there's 5 spots. We're going to our top 5. Okay?
I think we've covered a lot tonight. How is everyone feeling?
Pretty okay. Pretty okay, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a lot.